Hi and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 8 of my crochet and knitting goals for the year 2024. Some of them are fun, while others I desperately need to start implementing into my life. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say for the intro. So now I'm gonna start telling you guys about my 8 crochet and knitting goals. Okay, so I have all of my goals written out on my phone here, so I'm going to be referring to my phone throughout this video. So I'm going to start with goal number 1 here. There's no specific order to the goals. I'm just gonna list them off one by one. So number 1 is to stop spending so much money on yarn. This is a goal that I desperately need to start implementing into my life because it's getting a little out of hand at this point, if I'm honest. But realistically, I know I'm not gonna be able to avoid buying yarn for the entire year. So I'm gonna start with the first 3 months of the year, because I feel like that's doable for me. And once I complete the 3 months, I'm gonna kind of go from there and see if I can push it even longer than 3 months. But yeah, if I think about not buying yarn for the entire year, that just feels like such a long time. And I don't know if I can fully commit to that, because what if I am working on a project and I run out of yarn and I need to buy more of that yarn? Actually, that's something that I'm probably gonna allow myself to do during this 3-month time of not buying yarn. So I'm not gonna buy any new yarn, but if I desperately need more yarn to complete a project I've already started, then I'm gonna allow myself to do that as like a last resort. But I'm gonna try only doing projects with yarn that I already have. But yeah, if I run out of that yarn and I need to buy like 1 or 2 more balls of yarn, then I will allow that for myself. But hopefully I don't have to do that, because I really need to stop spending money on yarn, because I have way too much of it at this point, and I want to do better financially this year. So the first thing I'm gonna do is stop buying so much yarn. Okay, so goal number 2 is to find a new home for all the yarn I will never use. So I have a lot of yarn that I don't really love, and I've been holding on to it for a really long time, thinking that maybe I will eventually find a project for said yarn. But some of the yarn that I've been holding on to has been stored away in my closet for a few years now, and I still haven't found any projects for that yarn. So I feel like it would be really good if I gave that yarn away to somebody who is more likely to use it, because I just can't continue storing all this yarn that I will never use, because I'm definitely getting to a point where I have no more room to store any yarn. Like, I'm literally storing some of my yarn in random places in my room. So I think I need to start getting rid of some older yarn and some yarn that I don't love. I actually did recently go through my yarn and give a lot of it away. I gave it away to my sister, who recently started knitting again. So I did get rid of a decent amount of yarn when I gave my sister some of it. But it's been a few months since then, and I'm realizing there's still a lot more that I need to get rid of. So that is definitely a goal that I want to prioritize for this year, because I feel like I'm going to feel a lot better once I get rid of a lot of yarn. Because if I do that, I feel like it'll also allow me to kind of focus more on the yarn that I really do love. Because since I have so much yarn, I just feel so overwhelmed with how much I have. And I have way too much for just one person. And it kind of distracts me from even noticing the yarn that I do have and love. Yeah, definitely a goal that I want to prioritize this year. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to the next goal now. So goal number 3 is to organize my yarn stash. And yeah, so this kind of goes hand in hand with the last goal. So I feel like I can do goal number 2 and goal number 3 together. So whenever I decide to organize my yarn, I feel like I can choose that time to go through the yarn and get rid of some of it. So yeah, it definitely needs to be organized. I don't think any of my yarn is well organized right now. I have a few different areas in my room where I store it. And the only storage area that's somewhat organized is I have this huge bin under my bed, and that's only organized because it's one ginormous bin and I just throw all the yarn in there. Like, there's no, system set up where like I stack the yarn, or like, I don't know. It looks somewhat organized, but it's realistically just a bunch of yarn thrown into a ginormous bin. So yeah, what really needs to be organized is the yarn in my closet, because I feel like I maybe have like 7 bins full of yarn. And I really need to go through it, because that's where I'm storing all the yarn a lot of the yarn that I would need to get rid of, because a lot of it I don't love and I just stuff it in my closet to deal with later, but I never actually deal with it. So yeah, definitely need to organize that yarn because it's not very appealing. It's not very accessible right now since it's literally just stuffed into the back of my closet. So yeah, also, this shelf that you see right here behind me, my parents actually just made it for me for Christmas, and the purpose of it is for storing my yarn. So right now I just have my books stored on it, and then a few balls of yarn on top of the books, and that's because the stain that my mom used on it is an oil-based stain, I think, and it still smells really strong even though she stained it like 2.5 weeks ago maybe. It still smells really strong, and I'm worried that if I put my yarn directly on the wood right now, it might absorb some of the stain. I feel like at this point it might be safe to put it on, but I'm still a little paranoid because I don't want to put my favorite yarn on there and ruin it. So the way I have it set up right now is just for aesthetic purposes for this video. And yeah, eventually I will have all my favorite yarn stored on this shelf from like top to bottom, which I'm really excited for. I feel like that's gonna look so pretty. And that way I can remember all the yarn that I have, because when it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So I literally forget about a lot of the yarn that I have and love. So I feel like if I put all my favorite yarn out on display, it'll remind me to use it, which will be nice. So yeah. Okay, next goal. So goal number 4 is to reach 45 active listings on my Etsy store. So this would be almost 20 more listings than I currently have at the moment. So I currently have 26 active listings on my Etsy store. And this year I wanna see if I can get it to 45. I feel like if I really dedicate myself to designing patterns and writing them up, I should be able to reach that number, but that is almost double the amount that I have now. And I started my Etsy store, I think, in 2021. And since 2021, I've only listed 26 patterns. And it's currently 2024. So in 3 years, I listed 26 patterns. And in just 1 year, I want to list 20 patterns. So yeah. I feel like compared to how much I've listed so far and the amount of time that I did, 20 listings in 1 year is a lot for me, but I feel like if I really commit to it, I feel like I can do it. I just really want to increase the amount of listings on my Etsy store because I am really proud of my store. I put a lot of work into it, but I feel like I can do more. And I have a lot of ideas for amigurumi patterns that I'm really excited to do. I just keep putting it off because I am like a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to making the patterns, so it takes me a long time to complete just one amigurumi and then writing that up as well, because I want it to look perfect. Like I don't want any little mistake to show up. I don't know how to describe it. It just takes me so long because I need it to be perfect, and I will redo it over and over again if it's not perfect. Or sometimes I just get so frustrated because it's not as good as I want it to be, so I just put it aside for later and then I just put it off because it just stresses me out so much. But yeah, this year, I'm gonna see if I can get it to 45 listings. But even if I get it close to that amount, I will be happy. Like it doesn't have to exactly be 45 listings. So, okay, next goal. So number 5 is to learn how to write, crochet, and knitting patterns for clothing. So this summer, I started crocheting and knitting clothing for the first time ever, and I've had so much fun with it ever since. I feel like I've gotten pretty comfortable with making clothing now. It was a little difficult at first. I only ever crocheted amigurumis, so I had a hard time wrapping my head around the sizing when it came to making the clothing, but I feel like a lot more comfortable with it now. So I feel like I've reached the point where I can start maybe writing some patterns, but I'm still confused about the sizing when it comes to writing the patterns. Like, I figured it out when I'm making the clothing for myself, but I'm a little confused on how to write patterns with different sizing, because when I make amigurumi patterns, I literally just write the exact instructions for what I made for the amigurumi, and that's different than writing clothing patterns when I almost have to like hypothesize the different amount of stitches for each size, and that all confuses me. So I still haven't figured that out, but I would really love to start writing some clothing patterns this year if I can manage to figure out how to do it. Because I have a lot of really cool ideas in mind, and I know how to make it when making it on myself. But yeah, if you guys have any tips, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear them. I will take any help I can get because I really want to start doing this and I just don't know where to start. And even if you have any recommendations for any books or videos for how to write patterns for specifically clothing. Yeah, that's it for goal number 5. Okay, so next goal is learn how to spin yarn. So, I'm in love with yarn. Like, I just have such a passion for yarn. Like, I love crochet and knitting. Obviously have such a passion for those hobbies as well. But I just also am obsessed with yarn. And not just because of what it can create. I just love yarn. I feel like that's why I buy a lot of it. I buy it just for the sake of having it because I love the colors and I love the textures and I just want to have it even if I don't know what I'm going to make with it. So obviously I need to relax with the amount of yarn that I'm buying, but I want to find other ways that I can kind of explore my love for yarn. And I feel like something that would be really cool to do would be to spin my own yarn, because then I can literally make my own yarn. I feel like that would be so cool. And I also think that would be a really cool skill to have. So I definitely want to learn how to do that in 2024. I've seen people do it with I think it's called a drop spindle, where you just have like this little spindle thing, and then from what I've seen people do, I think it's like you roll it on or something and you just drop it. I don't know. It looked a lot easier than doing it on a spinning wheel. So I've seen people do that, but I'm honestly kind of intrigued by the spinning wheel. I want to learn on the wheel, I think, instead of the drop spindle. So yeah, I don't know if I should take a class or if I should just like try to learn from watching YouTube videos. But yeah, the spinning wheel just looks so fun to do. If any of you guys spin yarn and think that a spinning wheel might be like too much for my first time, then please let me know in the comments as well, because I don't know, I'm guessing that it would be kind of a similar process. In my head, I feel like the spinning wheel might be the same level of difficulty as the drop spindle, but if it's a lot harder, please let me know and I might just start with the drop spindle. I also did find some pretty affordable spinning wheels on Marketplace, and I'm kind of considering buying one, but I feel like that might be a little too impulsive since I haven't even learned how to do it yet. So yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna go about learning how to spin yarn, but I do want to learn how to do it one way or another in 2024. So goal number 7 is to start dyeing my own yarn. So this one kind of goes hand in hand with the last one, which was to spin my own yarn. Because how cool would it be to be able to spin yarn and dye yarn? Then I could literally create anything. That would be so fun. So yeah, I want to learn how to dye yarn. I would love to be able to create unique colorways to my liking and just play around with all the different colors. I just love colorful things, so I would love to make like a really colorful yarn. I actually did buy some bear yarns already. I think they're called bear yarns. Yeah, anyways, I did buy some bear yarns already a few months ago, because back then I kind of went through like a really short phase of like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to dye yarn, and then I got intimidated because I watched some videos on how to do it and it just looked very, there were definitely a lot of steps to it and I got a little overwhelmed. So I just put it on the back burner for now. But yeah, I do have the yarn ready to dye. I just need the dye. Well, I don't really know where to get them. or what kind of dye to get, but I'm sure I can just Google that and figure that out one way or another. Yeah, so I need the dye, but I have the yarn, and I think I have the means to cook the yarn. So yeah, I think that's a doable goal for 2024. Okay, so goal number 8, the last goal for 2024, is to start a local crochet and knitting club. I have been wanting to do this for a while now. I just love crocheting and knitting so much. I feel like my whole life revolves around it, and I just feel like it would be so fun to be able to crochet and knit and share my love of those things with other like-minded people and get to hang out with other people who crochet and knit as well, and then we can share what we're making, and then we can talk about how much we love yarn and all the things that we want to make, because I could literally talk about knitting and crocheting and yarn all day, and I would love to talk to people who also want to talk about it, because sometimes I feel like I talk to certain people about crocheting and knitting and yarn and all the things that I'm making, and I feel like I might be like a little bit annoying about it because they don't knit and crochet, so they don't love it the same way that I do. So yeah, I think I'm gonna try doing that this year. Obviously, I need to find people to join the club though. I already have a few people in mind. I just, yeah, don't know how to go about setting it up and then finding a place for everybody to meet up. I feel like it might be easier to do in the summertime, like spring, summer, and fall, because we could meet up in like a park and do like a picnic kind of situation. I feel like that would be so fun. That would be so fun. But yeah, I really want to make it happen because I've been talking about it for a while now, and I just need to do it. But yeah, those are my 8 goals for 2024. I feel like they're doable. Some of them are definitely gonna be harder to achieve than others, like the not spending money on yarn. I'm starting now because it's currently January 6th when I'm filming this video, and I have already spent money on yarn within the first few days of January, so starting now, I am not buying new yarn. Unless I really need to for a project that I've already started, so. But yeah, that's it for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I had so much fun filming this. But yeah, that's it for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna go now, but hopefully I will see you in the next video. So bye!